Is Testosterone or Proviron actually a libido miracle drug? Well, it certainly can be. I mean, on the testosterone subreddit, you're going to find posts like this, that Proviron libido, where a guy goes, geez, every orgasm is like the best thing ever times a gazillion. Like this one, I solved my libido problem with Proviron, so what should I do now? And what seems to be the case is guys on TRT, so full-on testosterone replacement therapy, or guys that are natural and maybe they're taking Clomid that aren't able to achieve full-fledged powerful libido, are able to get it back pretty substantially with a DHT derivative called Proviron. In this video, I want to talk about whether or not you should try Proviron if your libido is suffering and why it's so effective in these cases. All right, in the meantime, this is the biggest week for internet sales. It's Cyber Week, okay? Starting from Cyber Monday all through the week. So we've got 30% off specials on every product, Nootropics Courses, books at livecortex.com. So I'm going to shut up and let you see a clip of this. All right, codes are down in the description of this video. Links to all of our product are down in the description of this video. Go get some product. This is the biggest week for e-commerce. Let's make it happen. So what is Proviron and why is it so effective for like turning on libido, especially in cases where people have had like a significant deficit in their libido for a long time and then they take Proviron and suddenly the issue is resolved. Even when they've maybe gone on TRT and that didn't resolve the issue and they've done everything in the book that they know within their power to fix libido issues and still hasn't been resolved, they get Proviron in the picture and suddenly it's back to normal. What the hell is going on? Well, there's a couple things. I'm going to take us both to the Reddit anecdotals as well as the scientific literature to prove why Proviron has been very effective for many people on TRT and not, especially people with sexual dysfunction, to revive their libido. First, let's look at this. Look, I just want to say congratulations to the fucking bodybuilders, man, because these guys have been saying that Proviron and DHT analogs act as aromatase inhibitors and actually lower estrogen for years. No one's been able to prove it, right? There's not been a single piece of literature that anyone's put forth. They've just been saying it for a while. And I'm going to get to the literature in a second because it is true. This post, Proviron as a makeshift AI. Another post, Proviron as a potential AI. Within the comment section, people go, took my E2 down by a huge margin. It's very much known to reduce your E2. Another guy, yes, it's preferable to Arimidex. Okay, so what the hell's going on here and how does that contribute to this enhanced libido on TRT or off TRT for people with sexual dysfunction when they take Proviron? The answer to that question is actually yes, it does occupy the aromatase enzymes. So what's happening with guys on TRT that can't quite get their protocol or libido dialed in with their protocol is they take Proviron, it slowly reduces the estradiol, unlike a nastrozole or exemestane, which very rapidly reduces estrogen, which really is going to contribute to a libido problem if you're not dosing them correctly, which is really hard to do. You are actually getting mild occupation of the aromatase enzyme. Not as strong as some of the other potent, aromatase inhibitors, however, strong enough to get these people in a balanced place where estradiol lands in the zone and it's able to stay there. Now, the literature for this has been extremely elusive and no one's been able to cite it over the course of 10, 15 years on the web and in the bodybuilding forums, but they've all been saying that the DHT derivatives do reduce estrogen. Here's a paper called Influence of Testosterone, which is the drug name for Proviron, on satellite cell distribution and fiber morphology within maturing chicken pectoralis muscle, where they actually say, in addition, Testosterone or Proviron has a high binding affinity for the enzyme aromatase that converts other steroids into estrogen. They go, it is likely that Testosterone prevents the conversion of other steroids, especially testosterone, to estrogen by blocking the binding site of the aromatase enzyme. Okay, so definitively the bodybuilding guys were right, and we have our answer for, do these DHT derivative analogs, synthetic DHT compounds actually act as aromatase inhibitors? And the answer is yes. Do they act as aromatase inhibitors to the strongest degree possible compared to Arimidex and others? No. but you're still getting some aromatase inhibition, you're still getting lowering of estrogen, and that is balancing people's TRT protocols out. But there's actually more to how Proviron resets libido and restores it in men. This is a paper called Human Androgen Receptor Mutation Disrupts Ternary Interaction Between Ligand Receptor Domains and the Coactivator TIF2. Or basically the context here is you've got a mutated androgen receptor, specifically in the binding domains, the ligand binding domain, the DNA binding domain, and the transactivation domain, where they go misterolone, but not the physiological androgen dihydrotestosterone. So Proviron or misterolone, but not your inherent DHT, restored mutant LBD interactions with the TAD and the TIF2, which is basically saying you had a mutated androgen receptor where their binding domains were awry, which your own DHT could not fix. So here's a case where maybe you've got mutated androgen receptors for one reason or another, and TRT alone doesn't do it because it's making you make your own DHT, and that does not modify or fix these receptor sites. Whereas misterolone or Proviron does and did in this paper. So let's just sort of talk about this for a second. Number one, yes, Proviron enhances libido for men on TRT, as well as guys that have sexual dysfunction that aren't on TRT. Like I've seen people's libidos be revived with Clomid, so building your own natural testosterone from the hypothalamus point of view, tadalafil, so, shuttling blood through the corpus cavernosal tissues via PDE5 inhibition, and Proviron as a combination fixed major sexual dysfunction in men. I mean, these are guys that took pharmaceutical serotonin drugs, which caused their sexual dysfunction. But at the same time, Proviron has a pretty excellent ability, both in my anecdotal experience with real people, with clients, as well as the countless anecdotals on the web, to improve libido for guys that are on TRT, that for whatever reason, like their protocol isn't dialed in enough for them to actually have libido on testosterone. Because that does happen, by the way. Not everybody gets rockin' teenage libido when they go on TRT. It's like the protocol has to be right for you. That's why it's so important, to dial that thing in perfectly and to know what to do. I mean, it's well known within the anabolic androgenic steroid community, and in some cases the TRT community, like the testosterone subreddit, that you just add Proviron to your protocol when you have libido issues, and in short order, a week or so, the Proviron literally fixes the libido problems and supercharges your sex drive. What I'm contending in this video is that number one, it is modulating the aromatase enzyme and thus forcing estradiol in a better range, but not dropping it like very rapidly. This is a very important point, which is why in some cases aromatase inhibitors and taking them actually crush people's libido. Even if estradiol is still within range, the quick drop interrupts homeostasis, and your libido is going to drop there too. It's like once it gets to that lower range, if it stays there, and that's the trickiness of dosing AIs, well, there and you get your libido. But with Proviron, again, you're not dropping the estradiol quickly and a lot, you're just getting it right in range over a paced capacity, which then levels things out and allows you to regain your libido. But at the same time, again, there's this scientific literature on misterolone modulating mutated androgen receptors in a way which your inherent DHT couldn't. So is it the case that some of these guys that have serious sexual dysfunction or lack of libido on androgens, or even lack of libido on something like Clomid, are taking Proviron and it's modifying the ARs to upregulate the function of the binding domains, and that is facilitating the restoration of their libido? That would be my contention. Now, what would I suggest for somebody looking to kind of get into that? I mean, it's different for different people. If you're on TRT, I would really suggest starting with half of the suggested typical dose, and that would be 12.5 milligrams a day of Proviron. See how you fare. Give it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, give it a month. See if things balance out. Run estradiol labs before, run estradiol labs during, run estradiol labs after. See where the estrogen goes, because guaranteed it's going to lower. You can go up to the full dose of 25 milligrams on TRT. Just start low. It's always smart to start low and then work your way up. For people with massive sexual dysfunction that are trying to restore libido, you're definitely going to want to get on androgens in some capacity, because you need the testosterone and you need the subsequent conversion to estradiol. You need to upregulate the ARs regardless of whether the binding domains have issues. You got to upregulate the androgen receptors, and testosterone will do that. So like actual TRT. But again, I've seen success with Clomid too, because you're upregulating your own endogenous testosterone to a pretty significant level, depending on the dose with Clomid. And then in that case, if you don't have testosterone in the mix, you just have Clomid or maybe HCG, I'd start with the whole 25 milligrams of Proviron daily. Caveats: Proviron is a DHT derivative. So, if you're susceptible to hair loss, meaning it's in your genes to lose hair or have male pattern baldness early than most guys, or early in your 30s or something, then, having a DHT derivative or synthetic analog in the picture probably will facilitate hair loss to a noticeable degree. However, first of all, you don't have to be taking it forever, in my opinion. And secondly, you may be able to get away with a couple months of Proviron, restore your libido, fix some androgen receptors, get estradiol in the right place, hopefully snapshot that on the lab so you see where it's supposed to be, and then you can manage it, in some other capacity thereafter. And then cycle off the Proviron, leave it alone. Hopefully your issue is resolved. Proviron is a powerful androgenic steroid. It's anabolic as well, but it's powerfully androgenic. So, it's going to come with more virilization, more masculinizing traits. But at the same time, you might become aggressive. You might be, it might be snappy. You might be a little angry at people. You just might be that guy. So yeah, everything comes with its caveats. You kind of got to analyze and decide whether or not it makes sense for you based on your situation and how dire it is. Going to use the compound, absolutely use it intelligently. But yes, Proviron seems to be a very powerful miracle libido enhancing or libido restoration drug. And I believe it is for the aforementioned reasons. All right, guys, look, this is the biggest week for e-commerce internet sales. We've got nootropics stacks, Nootropics courses, Nootropics guides, books, testosterone guides, books, consultations, coaching with me. It's all discounted. All right. There's the 30% coupon code that applies to everything. And I'm going to leave you with a 30-second clip that explains the discounts. All codes are down in the description of this video and links for product.